Violent. I know he was on some Dunkin' Donuts earlier today, maybe some Taco Bell for lunch. I don't know, the Diet of Kings around here, bro. How you feeling?
Man, I'm feeling good, Jared. I appreciate you so much for having me on this. This is super, super dope. Obviously, appreciation to Huddle In as well for even having this cool interface and this whole live stream going on is super dope. But I'm doing good, man. I got to rest over the weekend, make some music. Getting prepared for this week, I think it was super, super important for me on the weekend. Obviously, I like to rest. I don't like to really go on social media on Saturday and Sunday. But now going on for this week, I have everything laid out, everything planned. But I'm feeling balanced. I'm feeling content. Grateful. All of that.
Dude, I love to hear that. So it's I love that you actually use the word content too. I think everybody kind of mixes up happy and content a little too much. Content is like a more perpetual state, and happy is more of a moment, in my personal opinion. But anyway, I digress a little bit. I'm super psyched for you. You got a big week ahead of you. And I also really love that you're not, while you're rolling out a new song, that it's not necessarily straight to Web3. That you're going to go a little bit more traditional on this. So let's get into it. Um, Release date's Friday, right? So everybody can pre-save, and let's talk about it.
Yeah, man. Release date's this Friday. The song's called "Wanted Me," and you can pre-save it on Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere. And I'm super, super stoked. Because I really like this idea of just releasing music to streaming platforms, right? Obviously, now that we're in Web3, we're interacting with a lot of people that are, extremists to one side of things, and they want to do everything on the blockchain, right? I want to build on the blockchain. I want my brand on there. I want to build IP on the blockchain, and it's understandable. And I'm not saying that's a negative route to go down because a lot of people have been successful going down that route, right? But what I do is I always try envisioning my path. I always try laying out my priorities and what's my end goal. And for me, my end goal at the end of the day is to make music and have as many people listen to it as possible. I want to create this brand and have as many people be influenced in a positive way by that brand as possible. And right now on the blockchain, that's not possible, right? Right now, in my opinion, it's just another branch on this big tree that we're forming. And I think that if I want to envision myself selling out stadiums of thousands of people, I'm going to have to tackle things that are actually consumer facing. And right now, those are Spotify and Apple Music and streaming platforms, whether people like it or not. And honestly, man, like I have my whole idea of, releasing NFTs and, market fatigue, and we can get into that later. But I'm just really excited for just the average consumer to listen to this song. You know what I'm saying? And just to drop music again. I completely abandoned that in 2022 for a good reason, in my opinion. But now that we're in 2023, I just want to get back to being known as a musician. You know what I'm saying? So those are the
I feel
vibes.
you. No, I feel you, man, and I love it. I love it. I think that there's a million ways to tackle this problem, and agree with your sentiment that like the fact that we've gone, everyone's gone gung ho into Web3, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it's not a this or that. It's a lot of times it's a this and that type of thing, and then there's going to be a balance, right? Like I think going 100% in either direction sounds a little crazy to me, right? So there's going to be a range in there. I do want to hear about the song, and we can definitely talk about some more of the philosophy and what you're working on longer term. As much as you're comfortable sharing, because I know you got a lot going on. Um, but let's talk about the song "Wanted Me." Um, what's that? What's the general ethos behind it? Kind of give us maybe the story a little bit. Uh, how did it come to be?
Yeah, man. I mean, like a lot of good music, in my opinion, or music that I feel emotionally connected to, it stemmed from actual experience, meaning in real life experience, right? And I feel like these moments, especially us being, online all the time, we forget to actually experience things on, in real life because we can derive those feelings into our music. And certain points I get very, in this state of blandness because I'm not going outside, I'm not experiencing things, and it's like, where do I derive these emotions from into my actual songs, right? So this song particularly, by no surprise, is influenced by an actual in real life experience. It was a very sad one, right? But it's about me going to a party actually on the New Year's of last year. So I made the song a while ago, and I was walking in, and I basically saw my ex at the party, right? And it's this idea that,
Right.
if you really like have that connection with someone, no matter how many times you guys break it off, when you guys see each other's eyes again, it's just like, damn, like it's just something hits within inside of you, right? And then I mentioned this in the lyrics of the song as well about like, you know, I get so tired of seeing you because I'm gonna fold every time I greet you, right? I don't want to see you anymore because I know that if I see you again, I'm gonna want to cave in, right? And that, being resistant to that idea is probably the hardest thing anyone faces, especially when they're in this, deep hole of just, being reliant on someone for attention, for affection. It gets very difficult, right? So it's just this entire idea of me like really, folding every time I see this girl and then her becoming I guess in love with someone else because I kind of pushed away. And it's like at the end of the day, I know you're with someone else. I know we went through all these things, but I still know you want me. You know what I mean? At the end of the day. So yeah, that's kind of what the song's about. I made it a long time ago and I've been holding off on it for so long. And I'm like, 2023 enough is enough. I've been sitting on too much music. I need to start actually putting it out there.
So speaking of sitting on music, with this story in particular, is this part of maybe like a larger storyline, or is it kind of a particular, just one particular moment?
I've been thinking about that a lot. This is about just one particular moment. I feel like I have a tendency, and a lot of artists have a tendency to overthink things. And that's one of the reasons why I don't actually put out any content or any music because I'm like, man, does this tie into a bigger project? Does this tie into something else? And honestly, I was getting very caught up in my own head about this track with that concept. So I ended up just putting it out there. It doesn't have to tie into another song, it doesn't have to tie into a big project. I just want people to hear it and actually experience it and relate to it if they feel what I'm saying, right? So yeah, I was actually really getting caught up in that idea. Like I didn't want to put this song out, honestly, Jared, because I'm like, oh, it doesn't have a bigger concept to it, doesn't tie into something like blah blah blah. I'm just like, bro, stop overthinking. Just put the song out there. You know what I mean?
I feel you. I feel you. And so, that's an interesting kind of pathway to go down a little bit. And I know you're working on bigger things, and you've told me that there's different stories coming on. I won't give any details unless you want to divulge anything. But I think even while you're working on bigger projects, right? Sometimes it's cool, like to break off. Like, so say you're like a month in between, you're like, man, I just need to switch it up. Throwing things like that where it really came from a vulnerable spot, it came from like a true emotion that you had, can be a great switcher because then you can get back into the project that you are working on and feel kind of rejuvenated, right?
Dude, 100%. And I feel like specifically in this era of music and attention economy that we're in right now, everyone feels like everything needs to be intentional. And I'm a big, supporter of intentionally moving in the space, right? Whether that's in Web 2 music industry, whether that's in Web 3. I love intentionally moving, right? But also being super intentional can hold ourselves back very, very much, right? And I feel like that was what was happening with me, right? Obviously I'm working on my big major project that I explained to you, right? And I wanted things to really start to build momentum intentionally to build up to that major project since it's coming out soon. And with releasing my first song of 2023, I realized that, I wanted to release it the first week of 2023, but here we are, right? It's already the 23rd and the first song's coming out on the 27th. Those are 20 days that I could have had someone's attention based off of a certain situation, based on a certain art piece. And I just didn't have that. And it was all gone. I'm not going to say to waste, but in the sake of the conversation, it was all just poof. It was gone because I was just thinking so much in my head about, is this going to intentionally lead up to to lead up to my major project, right? So it's like it was a really good break off, you know what I'm saying, for people just to indulge in this one specific moment that I had. And I'm hoping that people got to resonate with it and not to think deeply, not think too deeply into it.
Yeah, yeah, no, no, no. And then I think that's how it's been with most of your music. I was able to, we spoke on Music Mondays last year, and I was able to dive into like your SoundCloud and stuff like that. I think a lot of it's like super relatable, right? I think everyone's had that moment where, whether it's at a party or like on the street or something, like you bump into an ex, and like sometimes it's a good feeling, sometimes you're like, oh shit, that didn't end well, that type of thing. But I also find it interesting that you talked about moving with intentionality, and sometimes you can get a little too tunnel vision. Um, I know a lot of people have been talking about it lately. Have you read or listened to the new Rick Rubin book?
No, I have not. People have been talking about it. I don't know, Jared. I don't know if you heard this in the UVR space, but I don't really read. You know what I'm saying? Uh,
You can do the audiobooks, bro.
audiobook. I know that's what everyone tells me, but I'm more of like an
So I always just turn
interview.
on when you ride, when you drive in the car, right? Like I don't know how often you're riding in the
Oh yeah.
car somewhere or commuting somewhere. That'll do it for you right there.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I actually I do that with podcasts, so I wouldn't it would actually work with audiobook too. I haven't tried that though.
But so the whole reason why I even bring him up is there's a part in there where he talks about, specifically in nature, it's kind of a natural thing for animals or just beings in general to kind of hone in on something and focus on needs, specifically very specific needs. Whereas if you can start to make it a practice and start to be more aware of what's going on around you at any given time, that eventually you're just always in this state of awareness and more ready to receive things whenever they come to you, and less closed off, less filtered to different things.
Mm.
So I feel like that fits well with kind of what you were describing, and we're all guilty of it, man. Like to an extent, like we just at different stages, right? So like I'm a dad, right? So I overthink shit all the time. I'm like, oh, am I doing the right thing for my kid? That type of stuff. So that happens all the time. But back on the song for Wanted Me. Um, are you planning to do anything Web3 related with it?
So it's interesting, right? Because I'm obviously working on my major project. I don't want to release anything, and we had this conversation as well. I don't want to release anything that I can't, and you can't guarantee anything in this space, right? But for my sake, I don't want to guarantee anyone, holding this NFT and it just sitting in their wallet, not do anything, right? And I know a lot of people release music as like, fine art pieces and people just collect it because they like the song, but I want to figure out, and I'm figuring out how I can reward people that are already part of my ecosystem in a way that not only affects them emotionally because they connect with the song, but also on a monetary sense, right? And I feel like a lot of people in the music space haven't been doing this. So what I've been doing is I've been releasing these things called the UVR orbs. And basically what they are, they're just daily POAPs. So I do these daily UVR spaces every single weekday, but people are not getting rewarded for consistently showing up to these Twitter spaces, right? People are coming, but now I've figured out a way where it's like, okay, now every single space you come to, there's going to be a secret riddle. If you happen to solve that riddle, you get to actually get access to a secret word that lets you claim the orb. But now imagine, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but it's a possibility, right? I can really work on promoting this song on Web2 and it can start gaining some traction. And now 2 weeks down the line, I can be like, listen, the top 3 or the top 5 or the top 10 orb holders as of right now of this snapshot are going to get a free airdrop of this song called Wanted Me. And even before that, I'm hoping to gauge the community's interest. Like, yo, you guys really like this song. I'm promoting it. What if I drop, 50 editions at 0.01 Ethereum? Would you guys collect it? Now imagine if I posted a poll on Twitter and 80% of the people said yes, but instead of dropping that 50 editions at 0.01 Ethereum, I can go to the top 10 orb holders, give them the edition for free and say, listen, this is the demand for it. You guys can each list it for 0.10 Ethereum and it can sell because you can gauge the demand based on the poll. And now I'm creating liquidity within my community and ecosystem for the people that have been continuously showing up and supporting me. And that's kind of like, I'm not saying that's exactly what's going to happen, but those are kind of like the thoughts that are going through my head as I'm moving forward, promoting on Web2, but then also building like the Web3 ecosystem.
I feel you. I feel you, and I think it's a cool thought process. And that's the thing, man. Is that there's like a million bajillion ways we could go about all these different things, and I'm definitely gonna. We talked about it a little bit. I got to get up with you. Huddling can help cover you on some of that,
Mm-hmm.
taking care of people that show up for
For sure.
spaces too. But we'll save that for another time. I do want to talk to you about the cover art that you have with this. So there's like a lamp, some dark lighting. Like, what was
Mm-hmm.
that about?
Man, I'm really glad you brought that up because do you know you weren't at Miami?
Yeah, I was there.
But you were at Miami. Yeah, but were
Yeah,
you
well, I
at
was at the UVR.
not the my bad. I meant were you at Wave World by any
No,
chance?
I missed Wave World.
That's what I thought. That's what I meant. This picture was actually taken at Wave World, at the Miami event. And usually a lot of my cover arts are like, I get my designer live, who's part of like, he does amazing cover arts and I love them, right? But for this one, it just felt right? Because it was at Wave World. They had this beautiful like setting behind the bar with the lamp, exactly how it is in the picture. It's the lamp, it's like the case. And I'm like, man, this looks so like this looks so exotic right now. It looks so good. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes those pictures just look very, very good. And I took a picture of that and I wanted to think about like a really cool cover art for this with text, you know, with cool graffiti, all of that. But sometimes I'm like, man, like just certain pictures embody like a feeling that I can't even explain, right? It's not about like literally anything, honestly, right? It's just about like just looking at the colors and just looking at how it is and like the aura it gives me. I just feel like it matches the song, right? I just feel it, right? So like I just had to make that the cover art. No text on it, even though a lot of designers were like, yo, I can add text on this. I'm just like, nah, man, like I just like it. You know what I'm saying? How it is. And it's extra special because I took that picture at Wave World. So shout out to them.
And your ex wasn't at Wave World, was she?
Heck no. No, no,
I
no.
don't know. I don't know if maybe you saw her and you saw the lamp. You're like, oh shit.
Nah, nah,
Um,
but you know, it has like the little violet in there as well. So it's like the extra pizzazz. I had to add it then.
yeah, yeah, man. And I made sure that we did the promo video for it. I threw in the Taco Bell promo in there. We got. I feel like that little bell right at the end needs to be in all your promo these days. It'll just,
For
you know,
sure.
subliminally put it in people's minds and stuff like that. Um, so that's out first thing on Friday. Encourage everybody to pre-save. You can see that in Jaden's pinned tweet. Huddle in, we tweeted about it. Do pre-save it. That helps out more than what we can express. Um, After, and I don't want to downplay, but after Friday,
Mhm.
are you diving back into the bigger project?
So I'm always working on the bigger project every single day, just on the back end. I'm like drawing every single day because I'm drawing all the pieces myself. I'm making the music's almost done, probably two, like one more song getting finalized. And then it's basically done. So I'm working on the major project every day. But I'm trying my best to balance working on this major project on the back end, building the community and providing value to people in Web3, and then also working towards building a fan base in Web 2. So it's like these three major pillars, and I'm trying my best to grow all of them at the same time, which has been pretty difficult, not gonna lie, right? Because when you put your attention on one thing, it's gonna grow, but when you divide it up, it's harder to gauge what's gonna work, what's gonna not. So I'm still working on the major project. After this release, I'm gonna continue promoting it on Web 2 platforms. I'm actually doing an experiment this week and next week with this song, and I didn't post about it yet, but I'm about to. But basically, I feel like musicians, and I'm talking to myself when I say this, aren't taking advantage of the actual interest graph that TikTok is creating with their algorithms, opposed to the social graph that places like Instagram and honestly even Twitter have, right? But I know Twitter is moving more towards the interest with their new For You feature. But what I'm going to do is I'm posting 3 pieces of content that have to do with this song every single day on TikTok. Whichever one does the best with interaction, I'm going to take that and then post it on all my other socials like
Mhm.
Twitter, like Instagram, like whatever other social media platforms there are. So that way now I can gauge the interest of a wider net that I'm casting based on the TikTok algorithm, see what people are liking, take the best out of that, and then put it on Twitter and stuff. So hopefully that's an experiment that brings more attention to the music and the song, but we're just gonna have to see how that goes, right? So planning to continue that.
I think that's super valuable. I mean, just A/B testing in general, right? Like figuring out what works, what doesn't, and then when you go and do that for the next one, like you kind of have an idea of what content kind of sticks. Obviously, the variables change, you know, time over time, but I think overall, it's a good idea. It's exhausting. Are you doing? This is one of the things I wanted to ask. Are you doing everything yourself? You have any kind of team, a manager, anybody like that?
So far when it comes to my music, everything myself, which is a lot for sure. But hey, what are you gonna do? You know what I'm saying? You got to do what you got to do. When it comes to the actual like in real life underground Violet Rave events, I do have like a team of amazing people that are helping me with it. I have Muda, I have Brace, I have GX, and they're really helping me right now set up things for Denver. But when it comes to like music and stuff, it really is just me pushing everything myself.
No, bro, we got to make sure we get you some warm clothes for Denver. It's
I know.
February is not the time in Denver, but it's all good.
Mhm.
So on the same idea of you doing everything by yourself, back over to where the songs are actually coming out across streaming platforms, and I'll just stick with Spotify for the time being, since that's what most people are used to. What's been your experience like getting? I know there's a whole method for like playlisting and just like trying to get it promoted and all these different things. What's been your experience over there with like gaining traction on Spotify?
It's been very, very hard, man. It's been hard gaining traction on Spotify, and the only traction that I have seen is one, like you mentioned, from getting it from a playlist, or two is like having one of these videos blow up on these short form video content, platforms, and that going into like Spotify streams. For example, one of my songs blew up on TikTok a year ago, and it got like 100,000 plays on TikTok, and then that in turn gave my song 100,000 streams on Spotify. And it was super, super dope, right? And even like me getting accepted into this one playlist that got my song to like 30,000 streams, which is absurd. Those are all cool things, but I feel like it's very, very temporary, right? So now in my mind and my thought process, it's like, okay, that's cool. Like, I can get a viral TikTok video and that can get a lot of streams, or I can get into a very cool curated playlist and that can get a lot of streams. But all I've seen is that it declines slowly after that big spike, right? I'm not seeing anything consistently actually remain, right? So if one song gets 100,000, I'm not seeing the next song get 80,000 and the next song after that gets 75,000. It's really like 100,000 and then 200 plays, 200 plays, 200 plays. And that's why Web3 is so important to me, because it realized the importance of creating a sustainable brand through community, right? And that's why I feel like so many people are failing on TikTok, honestly, including myself, because I haven't created a sustainable community on TikTok yet. I think people like Luca Maxime have done an
Yo,
incredible job
Luca's
at
going
doing
crazy over there, bro.
insane, right? And I think there's a reason for that. I think that's because he realized that to blow up on TikTok is one thing, but to actually create a template of sustainability is another thing. And I feel like he figured the second one out, which is why all of his videos are getting above 50,000, 100,000, plays. All of his music now is consistently getting above 20,000 streams. And it's like, how do you get to, oh, snap, my speaker just touched the other wire. How do you get to that point, right? And like that's what I'm trying to really figure out with this song, with my future songs too.
Yeah, you just need your equivalent of like uncles raising the GDP in developing countries, like things
It's
like that.
crazy. It's
I don't know how
wild.
he came
So
up
cool.
with these crazy stories. It's pretty funny stuff.
So
Um,
cool.
Last thing on the Spotify side of things, and I think that there's, I don't know how often you have to go after playlists. So like obviously it makes sense when somebody first releases it that they do that. Maybe there's something to it behind. This is me speaking of pure naivety. I just don't know. Maybe every so often on intervals you have to try to put the song back up into those mixes and things like that. How have collabs fared for you on DSPs?
So you know what's actually really, really interesting that we brought up Luca. I have two songs with Luca on DSPs, right? I have Night X and I have Back and Forth, right? When his run up happened on TikTok, right, about a month ago, when a lot of people started to come on his profile, he exponentially started to blow up. Surprisingly, right, my top two songs being streamed for that exact month are my two collaborations with him. You
Oh,
know what I'm
nice.
saying? And I've never really seen, people always say, oh, you want to grow your music fan base, collaborate with as many artists as possible. Their fan base will get exposed to you, and then vice versa. I've never seen that really translate, right? I've collaborated with many people, but it's very rare for me to listen to a song and be like, oh, who's that feature? Let me go check them out, right? And it's really cool to see it actually work with Luca, because man, that song Night X was getting what, like 5 to 10 streams every single day. He started to blow up. That song now gets like 80 to 100 streams every single day, right? So
That's
this was the
huge.
first time it's huge, man. And now it's almost at 10,000 streams within just a month. And it's crazy because his fan base are listening to his songs, but Night X is not even a song that he promotes, right? So now they're going through his discography,
Mm.
finding other songs, and now tuning into my music as well, which is like the first concept of that I've seen come to life for my life. And I'm just like, this is the coolest shit ever, right?
Yeah.
And I know Stones was even talking about that with Jamie and being featured on Jamie's album, right? And how he started to get a lot of listeners because, people went to tune into Jamie's album, and that kind of flooded over. It's really cool, man. It's really, really dope.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and then Jamie's doing well. I know our school dropouts out there, so that album's getting some streams and getting some love. Look, man, I feel confident that you'll do well with it. I love that you're promoting it. I think as silly as it sounds, like it's just one of those things that has to be done. People just got to bite the bullet and do it, and you're doing a good job of it.
Thank
Super
you.
excited to see what you keep coming out with. The floor is yours, and we'll wrap it up. Just tell I think you're Jaden, just Jaden Violet on everything, right?
Yeah, man. I appreciate you so, so much for this opportunity. I'm trying to get better at just talking about my music and promoting my music. It's very, very difficult. And maybe I'm just making it difficult upon myself and I just need to just do it, right? But yeah, Jaden Violet on all platforms, Jadyn, and then Violet like the color, literally on Spotify, Apple Music, SoundCloud, YouTube, anywhere where you listen to, you can find my music there. Please, please, please pre-save the song if you would like. It's coming out this Friday. And yeah, Wanted Me, it's going to be super dope. You can hear me singing on the track very, very in a way that's out of my comfort zone. It's produced by Vardinian and mixed and mastered by my guy Oad. And yeah, much more music coming. I also hold a daily show called the UVR every weekday at 11 a.m. Eastern time on Twitter.
Oh,
So tune into
oh,
that as well.
yeah, man. Yeah, bring some Taco Bell if you're swinging by. Jaden
Yes,
will
yes.
ask you what you ate for breakfast. Don't say nothing. He gets very upset about that. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. Whether it's now or
Thank you.
after the fact, make sure you pre-save Wanted Me. Jaden, we appreciate you, buddy. We'll see you next time.